Good morning, everybody, and welcome and thank you for being here. Before we get to the hearing, because a number of members of the press have asked me, I'm announcing that the Senate Judiciary Committee will hold the confirmation hearing on the nomination of Solicitor General Elena Kagan to be an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court beginning on June 28th. We'll do that so that the hearing can be concluded before the July recess. And I've reached out, of course, in doing this. I've talked with Senator Sessions, the committee's ranking Republican, to discuss the schedule of this hearing. We met again yesterday. I know that I'll let Senator Sessions speak for himself on, I'm sure some would like more time. On the other hand, some would like to do it earlier. But we did work cooperatively to send a bipartisan questionnaire to the nominee last week, something sent from both Senator Sessions and myself. When we received the response yesterday, the two of us also joined in sending a letter to the Clinton Library asking for files from the nominee's work in the White House during the Clinton administration. Of course, I'll continue to consult with Senator Sessions on that material as we get it. I know that we gained a lot of respect for the Sotomayor hearing and for the Roberts hearing, and I'd like to follow that because last year we proceeded with the hearing on the nomination of Justice Sotomayor 48 days after she was designated. This year I'm scheduling the hearing to start 49 days after the nomination was announced. Justice Stevens, of course, announced on April 9 that he'd be leaving the court. He said that he noted, quote, it would be in the best interest of the court to have his successor appointed and confirmed well in advance of the commencement of the court's next term. I wholeheartedly agree with Justice Stevens. It is in the best interest of the court and, of course, of the country. When one person criticized this nomination saying she had not been a judge, does not have years of opinions to be considered, well, actually that should make preparing for a hearing less labor intensive and must make it easier. But she has been confirmed just a year ago for Solicitor General, so much of this we've looked at when we considered a record last year, and then by a bipartisan majority vote confirmed her nomination to serve as the Solicitor General of the United States, a position often called the 10th Justice. This last weekend, a number of Republican senators said that Solicitor General Kagan's answers at the hearing were going to be the key. Then I would urge everybody to come to the hearing with an open mind, listen to her answers to those questions, and we will make sure that every senator, both sides of the aisle, have ample time to ask the questions they want. But also, it allows the American people to evaluate this nominee. The hearing is an opportunity for all of us to ask questions and raise concerns and evaluate the nomination. The Supreme Court justices are there representing all 300 million Americans, but the senators are the only 100 Americans who get to vote one way or the other on this nomination. And on this committee, we're the ones that have to vote first, and then the Senate has to vote. And I think every one of us has to take that responsibility seriously, standing in the footsteps standing in lieu of 300 million of our fellow Americans. So President Obama had to handle the selection process with the care the American people expect and deserve. He's met with senators from both sides of the aisle. I suggested to the president what I've suggested to every president, Republican or Democratic, that look for somebody outside the judicial monastery. He did. Some of his experiences were not limited to those in the rarefied air of the federal appellate courts. And so I will note that he has consulted. We asked him to. And I'm glad he has. And so there we are. Before I make my statement about the hearing we have here, let me yield to Senator Sessions.
Mr. Chairman, you've been very gracious with your time, and we've talked about this on a number of occasions and had a very productive and cordial meeting yesterday to go into some depth about your vision and for the hearings and mine. And I think fundamentally we share the view that we should conduct a thorough and effective examination, one that fulfills our constitutional role and makes the Senate proud, so that we can be proud of it, that we fulfilled our responsibilities. Senator Kaufman has noted that we get along remarkably well around here, but sometimes we just disagree about how things ought to be done. I know that we had asked that we be able to have the hearing after the recess, just to give our colleagues more time to study the record and maybe prepare their remarks and the questions they'd like to ask. But the pace would be consistent with last year's Sotomayor hearing, but we had a shorter time period. The President did give us extra 2 weeks this time to consider the nomination. I told him, and I've told Senator Leahy, that I thought we could reasonably complete this hearing before the August recess, is what the President asked me at the White House, and I told him I believed we could do that, and I committed to try to achieve that. We'll try to do our best to conduct an effective hearing, even if I would have preferred a little more time. I would say this clearly. A Supreme Court nominee for any seat is exceedingly important. The American people are concerned about their court. They're concerned about the effectiveness of law in America. They're concerned that constitutional principles are being eroded, that we're not recognizing the fact that our government is a limited government, and we can have a fine nominee in many different ways, but if they're not committed to the limited role of a federal judge, if they're not aware that they must serve, as their oath says, under the Constitution, not above it, then they're not qualified to serve on the bench. So this will be the nature of the inquiry. I hope it's a high-level inquiry. We'll discuss judicial activism, faithfulness to plain words of the Constitution, and I expect it to be a vigorous and important hearing. And Mr. Chairman, one of the things I appreciate is you renewed your commitment that we would have a good 30-minute first round. Appreciate you doing that. That does allow more engagement with the nominee. I don't think it was abusive last year in any way, and with Sotomayor, and I think we should do that again. And so I think we've started off on a pretty good basis. I look forward to working with you within the realms of what we can agree on and what we may not be able to agree on to complete the process before the August recess, and in a way that makes the Senate and our country proud of how we've conducted the hearings.
Well, I think both you and I appreciate those kind words, and both you and I realize that senators do have to have time to ask questions. I don't think anybody's going to waste time asking repetitious questions, and we'll make sure they have that time. I did, should tell the rest of you, I did suggest semi-facetiously to Senator Sessions that we should do the hearing as a field hearing in Vermont. At that time of the year, it would be nice, but I don't think that's going to be possible. So all the members of the press who are already getting their expense accounts ready to go to Vermont for a week, not going to happen.